Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to the channel and welcome as always to our coffee times to discuss books and horror. And today, because I'm so sad and I don't have anything else to look forward to every week because sadly the season 1 of The Last of Us has wrapped, leaving me empty every week. I decided to make this video recommending you guys books that you might enjoy if you loved The Last of Us. But if you're not familiar with the TV show or the game, that is fine. You can take this video as post-apocalyptic book recommendations.
It's coffee time!
So The Last of Us is a story in which we are in a post-apocalyptic world after a virus that spread 20 years ago has basically killed the majority of the population. This pandemic was caused by a mass fungal infection and it has been spreading and converting people into kind of zombie look-alike creatures. In the story, if they bite you, you become infected and in a period of time you will turn, but you don't know when it's gonna happen. The show stars Pedro Pascal as Joel, our main character, that is trying to take a girl named Ellie into safety and basically follows them as they have to travel in this new world order and everything that they encounter. If you have not seen the show or played the game, I do recommend both to you. And now let's go to some book recommendations of books you might enjoy if you have loved The Last of Us. Let's start with Annihilation by Jeff Vandermeer. So this is book 1 in a trilogy and I was obsessed with book 1. I devoured it. I was addicted to the story. So we follow Lena, a biologist that decides to go on a mission to Area X. Area X is a part of America that it is basically, it has like a border around it and it is an unexplored area. Nobody really knows what's in there because the people that have went in a mission, they've never came out. All the teams they've sent, they never come out. And the moment that they get into that area, all communications fail to work. So basically they are left by themselves. And you're going to follow the expedition inside of Area X and you're going to be able to discover what lays there, what's there. And it can get trippy at times in this science fiction kind of story, but I felt like there's also a lot of human component to the story and you feel really for the characters. I cannot say the same for the rest of the stories. I stopped at book 1. I read book 2 and I struggled a lot to finish it, so I never read book 3. For me, this is just the only book that I can read from the trilogy. Book 1 is my book. And in book 1, you're gonna follow 4 women that are sent into this expedition to collect data and hopefully make it out alive. But like I said, people normally, once they get in, there is no way out. I really did enjoy the first book and I feel like if you love sci-fi horror and you've never read it, I think you will really enjoy it. So now let's move to my next recommendation, which in this case, it's a bit more of a depressing story, even more than the first one. And that is The Road by Cormac McCarthy. And this is one that is quite of a dark story, dark and depressing. This is another post-apocalyptic story in which a father and a son, in this case, are walking alone through burnt America. So the world is inhospitable, there is no crops, everything is absolutely devastated, and there are few people still alive trying to survive. One of them is our main character, this father trying to get his son somewhere safe. Because of the conditions that the remaining survivors have to live through, you know what happens when humans are left without food, without resources, and you cannot trust anybody anymore at this point. This is, as I've mentioned, a dark story. It is devastating and it can be quite depressing. So this is kind of like a dark take on a post-apocalyptic world. The next book is another trilogy and the first book is called The Fifth Way by Rick Yancey. In the story we have beings that look like human but they are really dangerous, so there is basically no one that you can trust. After the first wave, the second wave, you better run for cover, the third wave comes. And by the point we get to the fifth way, the only thing that you can do is truly trust no one. And funny enough, all of these 3 books that I have mentioned so far, they've all been turned into movies, so you can also enjoy the movie after reading the book. In this book, to stay alone is to stay alive, because there's truly nobody that you can trust, and our main character is trying to rescue her brother and trying basically just to survive another day and make it alive with the brother. Yeah, so this is another one that is quite fun to read, and another one that I only read the first book, and for some reason I never continued with the trilogy. I feel like I do it a lot because if I do not have the 3 books in my physical TBR, I tend to forget to keep reading series or trilogies. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But if you read all 3, let me know if it's worth it to complete the trilogy. Now let's go to a bit of a different concept, and we have the book Severance by Ling Ma. We have Candace Chen that works in a Manhattan office tower, and it is devoted to routine. So she doesn't even notice when a plague, like almost a biblical plague, swipes the whole city of New York, leaving everything devastated. When the Shen fever spreads, families flee, people try to get out to survive, and Candace doesn't even seem to notice everything that's happening around her. So Candace photographs everything that's going on in the city and around her, and she's the only one probably that also knows a lot of secrets because of that. There is a group of survivors led by IT Tech Bob, and he's trying to take them somewhere where he promises them that they will be able to start society and civilization anew. This one is going to be a different kind of take on the post-apocalyptic world, a little bit more modern take on it. So if you have not checked it out yet, make sure to see if it's something for you. Then we have Manhunt by Gretchen Falker Martin, and this one got very popular when the book came out not long ago, and I feel like it's also a very different take on the post-apocalyptic story, so also worth giving it a chance. Beth and Fran are traveling through this post-apocalyptic world where, you know, everything is devastated, as we know, but what they're doing is they're hunting feral men in order to collect their organs. That sounds very disturbing, but also kind of satisfying. So these 2 survivors and another one, they kind of meet by chance, and they start to survive in this post-apocalyptic world together. This was such a praised book for being a powerful new voice in horror, and also addressing, you know, transgender people, non-binary people in a scenario like an apocalypse where normally they are disregarded, never mentioned, not included. And so I feel like this is a great story that everybody can check out, and a very different take on the post-apocalyptic for sure. The Girl with All the Gifts by M.R. Carey is another one that I just feel like it might be for a lot of people, and I know the book is chunky, but just give it a chance. Melanie is a very special girl. She's very smart, and every day Melanie is being collected from her cell at gunpoint, and she's being taken to class, to school. She loves to learn, but people need to be careful around her because she can be quite dangerous. The Girl with All the Gifts is such a powerful, sensational thriller, and I feel like if you loved works by Neil Gaiman or even Stephen King, you will definitely love to hear this story. All the mystery surrounding this girl and what she cannot do, why people should be scared of her. I want you just to go and discover it by yourself, but this is a great story and I truly enjoyed it. Next we have Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel, and this is more of a sci-fi than a horror, but it does have a nice post-apocalyptic story to tell. The story is set after, you know, the end of civilization as we know it, and we follow a Hollywood star together with other actors that are just trying, you know, to go back to a normal life through the arts. During the production of King Lear, they realized that there is a flu spreading all over the world and the world is ending. So we have this group of actors there, and I thought that is such a good kind of starting point of a story. 20 years later, there's this kind of like theater traveling group that is going around and still trying to survive in the outside, and kind of, you know, they still have members on the team that were there at the time of the outbreak. So they are touring, bringing, you know, music and arts and theater to whoever is still out there. Moving on to a more classic post-apocalyptic world with zombies, we have World War Z by Max Brooks. I feel like this is another book that a lot of people might not consider reading, especially if you watch the movie first. I thought the movie was okay, but it didn't really blow me away. But I do feel like the book is a lot of fun. I love that the book goes through different places in the world where population has been decimated by these virus that has turned people into zombies, and we get to experience the apocalypse from different places, and we get to see the effects that it had in different areas. In a way, it felt at times like a documentary. You know, you're documenting the effects of this virus here in this area and that area, what happened. And like I said, it's quite dynamic and entertaining, and I do recommend it to you guys if you love zombie books, if you love post-apocalyptic stories, but you still have not picked this one up. The next one is part of a series, a book series, and it's called Trail of Lightning. The series is called The Sixth World by Rebecca Ronhorst, and in this specific story we have a climate apocalypse in which the world has been covered by flooded by water, and that is what has caused, in this case, the apocalypse, which is something scary, but honestly is not too far-fetched from reality, sadly. So after the apocalypse happened and kind of new civilizations were built with the survivors, now we have our main character who is a monster hunter, which is another thing that adds a little bit of spark to the story. So Maggie, our main character, is one of those monster hunters, and one day there is this small village that asks her for help because there is a missing girl. A little girl went missing, and basically their last resource to try to find her is Maggie. So Maggie reluctantly kind of agrees to go on this mission, and the deeper she investigates, the more she starts to realize that there is something in common. There's something that all of these disappearances that have been occurring in the last years, they all have something in common. So if this sounds interesting to you, make sure to check it out. And the last one that I have to recommend to you guys is Zone 1 by Colson Whitehead. So this is another kind of virus outbreak that has caused the apocalypse, and we have here a virus that has spread through the population, and now we have the infected versus the uninfected. So we have the living versus the living dead, and we're going to follow this plague as it's still active, but also people are trying to build back civilization. They're trying to kind of start over from zero and start to build some sort of towns and places for people, for survivors to go to. And while the army has eliminated the majority of the zombies, some civilians have volunteered to try to go and scavenge and try to find those other ones, those infected that might still be out there trapped somewhere, or the ones that still pose a threat to us. I love this concept, you know, of having people that still kind of volunteer to go out there to investigate, try to find out people that are infected, are trapped in their old lives, and kind of try to eradicate once and for all this zombie outbreak. Alright guys, so these were 10 book recommendations for a good post-apocalyptic tale, and especially if you have enjoyed The Last of Us and are looking for something to fill that void that the end of season 1 has brought us. I was living for that show every week. I was so excited to watch it, and now I feel empty. I know we have now The Mandalorian season 3, which I am watching as well, but The Last of Us has been one of my favorite shows, period. It's just so good. The acting, the cinematography, the adaptation from the game, it's amazing. So I feel like I probably will replay the games now to kind of fill that void as well. Now that the first season has wrapped. If you've not seen it yet, it's on HBO Max, and I can absolutely recommend it to you. It is fantastic, and you get the joy of binging it and not having to wait week by week. But it's kind of made it better, because I would probably have binged this in one day and then not have been able to savor it for weeks like I have been able to do now. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you found some book recommendations here that you enjoyed. Let me know down below which other post-apocalyptic books would you recommend other people. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. Thank you guys as always so much for watching, and I hope to see you all, as always, in our next coffee time. Bye!